Good morning, yes.
What's going on, wonderful advisory council? How is everyone?
Wonderful.
I can't hear any of you guys, so I don't know if the sound's working.
Hello, hello.
You're on my side.
Oh no, Felicia is talking and I can't hear, so let me figure out what's going on. Oh, now try. Felicia, can
you hear now?
Sure can.
Okay, good morning.
Morning. Sorry, I've been quarantined and I'm back in my office now for some reason, because like everyone has COVID here and is just absolutely burning this place down with COVID. Not really, that was an exaggeration for those who are watching on the live stream. But I guess someone came in and must have shot my speaker, so now it's back on. I feel comfortable around you guys, so I make jokes, but then I have to realize like, oh, this is a public meeting and probably should clarify. Is Adam talking to Washington right now? Sorry, like as you take a
yes, so he's talking to Washington right now, as well as watching the State Finance Committee meeting. So busy morning at our house.
Bless him to be watching a legislative meeting. Those aren't easy to watch.
Hello.
Yeah, there's a reason to watch this time, so.
Oh, I'm sure. But
it goes well.
Right, they're rough though, because they weave in politics with policy conversations. And
oh yeah, last week's was so confusing. He had to jump on the phone immediately with the Secretary of Commerce just to figure out what was happening. And even the Secretary of Commerce was a little confused, so.
That's Kansas legislature in a nutshell, right?
Oh, wow.
Like, wait, what's happening? Like most, it's funny being at the local level is at the state level. A lot of times you don't know what's happening till like the night before. Like they will give you the calendar is what we call it, or the agenda for the floor by 5 o'clock the day before, and then you have to kind of rush to get everyone up to date with what we're going to be voting on and what the background is. Yeah, so yeah, confusing and fast paced.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough to have a couple of days to prep, which we needed because we needed to get in touch with a couple of people concerning a few of the issues, but things are looking hopefully positive.
Hopefully, good.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be really positive last Friday. It all went down the tubes. So we've learned in the last 8 months, it can go down the tubes in, 5 seconds. So
it really can. And I'm sorry about that. I wish that's the interesting thing. Our government is very good at slow pace. Like, and that's kind of what it's supposed to be. Like George Washington once was asked why they set up a government that is so pretty much slow to respond or to pass legislation. And at the time, you had tea and you had a big like coaster looking thing. That's not what they call it, but the tea sits on. And you used to pour it in that first and then pour it back into your cup. And Washington responded with, "Why'd you pour your tea into the, whatever that thing is called?" And the man responded, "To cool it." And Washington responded with a confirmation like "so it be" or something like that, a confirmation that that's why the process is so slow, is to cool legislation down. But in a pandemic, you need fast response. You need like an option to actually move fast, and we just aren't set up for this type of stuff. So I'm sure it's super frustrating for someone, like the Harkeys particularly, who are watching this on the federal, state, and local level. But we appreciate what you're doing in the updates.
Trying to lobby on behalf of all sorts of us who need help right now. So here's hoping we see something in January, at least.
And we usually start just a few minutes late to make sure everyone jumps on, but it's kind of off the agenda, but we are looking fairly positive for those following it as far as a potential vaccine. The biggest holdup right now, it looks like they were shooting for 50% effectiveness and they're over 90 on 2 of them. So this week, one of those 2 will be applying for emergency authorization. The biggest hang up is going to be they're using, RNA So pretty much it's like a little fat cell that they're putting this protein in, and what it does is the protein, like your body starts responding to it and um, creating. It's a new type of vaccine, I guess, as where I'll go with it, and it has to be like super frozen, like very very cold, like both of them do, like beyond, like colder than Antarctica, I think is what one of them has to be. So we got to figure out the distribution of that, because that little fat cell that they stick the stuff in is actually, well, it's going to be really a lot easier to produce than a traditional vaccine. That's why they did it. It's because you can produce it faster. Getting it throughout the country, the distribution is going to be tough. So that's what I think, are going to see in the next month, is the distribution of that being a hang up. But that's like within our technological knowledge, right? Like we can keep things cold. We just got to figure out the best way to do it. So
Is that at the county or city level that figures out the distribution?
The what?
Is that the county or city level that figures out distribution?
So it's the county level figures out distribution, and we have been somewhat included on the plans, or like the sketch, where, and yeah, I can't really report on it because everything changes, and I'm usually the last to find out around here, which is not my fault, by the way. It's just usually like I get updates, and by the time I get updated, like other people already knew. But we want to be a partner in that as well, where we have resources, we have Century 2, we have places where we can actually have, if you did it right, you pretty much have a drive-through, right? You'd have a drive-through where people are driving through getting vaccinated. Like you would do it as fast and as quick as possible. A lot of cities that had access to CARE money actually did like a drive-through mass vaccination of the flu shot this year. And you could use CARES money for a couple things. One, if you have the flu, you're having a run on your hospitals, you're having problems with hospital beds, and you have a run on corona tests because they're saying the same symptoms, right? Like, so you could use corona money in the CARES Act to actually fund that. And then the other thing is you can take that data and see what worked and what didn't when it came to trying to vaccinate a bunch of people at once, where, you know, like, oh, next time we're going to make sure we shut down this street over here, and maybe we won't have it at that site over there because no one really showed up to that site. Like you could actually take the lessons learned from that. So I approached Jim Howe with that idea a few months ago, and he seemed to like it, but I don't think they ever did anything with it. Like, I think their distribution plan, they felt they didn't need a trial run with a flu shot, and for some reason it died. But anyways, so we'll find out more about it once we realize how much will be allocated, I think, and that will come down from the city. So
I need to get a hold of somebody, and I know this is a long way out, but if any, if people need space and it's before we're reopened, we'd love to, possibly work out a deal for, storage of freezers or any of that kind of stuff. Cause right now I got a lot of empty buildings, big buildings. So, and
you have an invested interest in getting us through this, like not just a humanitarian interest, but also
following those vaccine updates very closely.
So the other thing too that I would encourage people on this call to do is to follow Lacey Cruz on social media. She's like me when it comes to communicating on social media, where she does a lot of I guess interaction. She gets bullied a lot on social media too. Women in politics right now, when we're in a crisis, get it worse than men. Like, and it's not just Lacey, but also like when I'm on a mayor's call with women mayors from all over the country, and we start chatting about this stuff that they hear. Like I get a lot of heat, but their stuff is like there's a whole level of like sexism and stuff that adds to it. So she gets a lot of heat on social media. So, but if you are able to follow her, just saying you'll probably see some of that. And she's a little wary, I'm sure. But she updates folks on what's happening at the county, pretty much like I update folks what's happening at the city level. So she's a good one to follow on Facebook. I don't think she's on Twitter, but but yeah, and I try to take their information and put it out as well. If you follow her though, you're also, just like if you follow me, you'll be subjected to kid pictures and dad jokes. She plays the guitar. She she's actually, a person. She does other cool stuff that you'll be subjected to as well. It's not just a Twitter update. Hey, last thing before we get to the agenda, because I think we probably have most people on right now. If you are like the Harkeys and you want to follow what's going on in Topeka, follow the hashtag KSLeg. So it's KS for Kansas, leg as in legislature. If you follow that hashtag, it's probably one of the more impressive hashtags we have going on in Kansas. It's literally politicians, staff, journalists, lobbyists, think tanks, interest groups, everyone will live tweet what's happening in a meeting, or what's happening really in state level politics. And when you click on that, for those who might not be familiar with Twitter, when you click on the hashtag KSLeg, it pretty much puts you in a chat room. Is what I tell like AOL people. Like I grew up, AOL was just coming out. It pretty much puts you in a chat room where everyone's chatting about the same thing. But yeah, instead of sitting through and actually having to watch a meeting, if you go to KSLeg, it's a really good way to follow what's happening in the legislature. All right, let's go and get started. So welcome, let's go to improve the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes, and are there any proposed changes? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded by Andrew. All in favor of said motion, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
There was an opposed to the minutes. The motion passes. That scares me. It makes me wonder if there was an actual typo or something. Okay, so we're gonna jump in. I think Andrew's gonna give us an update on an app for COVID safe businesses. And
so do you want me to go over anything specific or just kind of tell you what I know right now?
yeah, just an update.
Okay. So at your recommendation, I contacted the Greater Wichita Partnership. So this might bleed over a little bit into that conversation, at least from what I've heard, because they had received this document that has quite a bit of information about suggested ways of us being creating some sort of a pledge. So I said, well, it would make sense for us to utilize a tool like this and not just duplicate efforts. And I just got a message back 15 minutes before the meeting. So they waited a couple, 2.5 days to give me an answer to say that they're probably not going to be able to do it. It's not the focus and function of the Greater Wichita Partnership, and that they feel like that mission belongs in the home of the chamber, which does serve and support businesses. And so I guess I understand the reasoning for not doing it or not being interested. So I made an emergency call. That's why I was 5 minutes late. I was talking with Angie Elliott. She is going to carry this to their team to just decide if they have even a shred of interest in this. And what I've pitched to them is the need to meet with the developers, the stakeholders, the people paying for it essentially. So the community foundation and anybody else, this group, to kind of like understand the vision and the scope of the project. We need to be able to figure out what it costs. And that's where the developers are at. So we know how much money to ask for, and then also have an idea what the long-term costs or opportunities would be for them, because after talking to the developers, there's a lot of information, and that's what I want to share next. There's a possibility this can live on for a long time. It's not just going to be here during COVID. So it's in the hands of the chamber to basically say, yeah, we're interested in hearing more. I told them, don't say no or yes, just agree to meet. And that's kind of where we're at right now. When they asked timeline, I said, well, 4 weeks ago, we were hoping to just get the meeting started, and we're still trying to get the meeting started. So we need to meet quickly, not like after the holidays or something. So the developers are very interested. They have their story. I don't know if I've expressed their story, but their story is they've, just like every other small business, have lost a lot of their revenue sources. And so this would actually be something, if paid, would help maybe keep their business alive and get them to the next, month or two down the road. And that story is pretty interesting because there's community partners in the community that know that they can make donations to the community foundation that's going to directly impact a small business. They're more willing to do it. There's a lot of incentives. So I'm hoping to be able to make that connection, or continue to make that connection, and then get it funded. The other part, speaking with the developers specifically, we were talking about kind of like how big this could be or what all it can encompass. And everything that you can imagine has probably already been talked about. So, it's a tool that's, user, like they would create a form or whatever to be able to gather data, and then they would create a system to automatically like send feedback. That was kind of like the response I got was, instead of just turning it into a social media tool, it would like send feedback directly to the business that's not in compliance, give them what they need to know about if their people are in compliance, but also it could be morphed into a data gatherer. So because it's an app and a tool that uses your cell phone, its big function is that it can actually just track people and show like where they're going to be. And that data could be used to help create promotions and sales, like create a funding source, a way to promote businesses automatically, or with a paid feature down the road, maybe. So there's just a lot of possibilities that can be done with this that go well beyond like what my comprehension is. So I see it as a pretty big opportunity if you guys could get more, if we get as a group more specific what we need, that's easier for them to kind of figure out where it needs to go. But we can't just think about for the next 3 months or 6 months or even a year. It's like, how could this be alive for 10 years from now and help the community at large? So
that's huge. It is, how do we utilize the infrastructure that this app will have and I guess that kind of gets to what could be localized to help small businesses or employees or customers, like, because we want customers to download it too. What apps are out there, what services are out there, and what would be better if they're localized, right? Like, so there might be some opportunities there. There might be some opportunities, and I'm just throwing this out there. I know nothing about the service industry, but also for if there's job opportunities, right? Where almost there, I don't know why people don't do this, like almost like an Uber for bartenders. Like, wouldn't that be if someone had to pick up shifts somewhere? Like, is there any type of way to take, I guess, to help businesses and employees that would get people working as well? So I don't know. There's probably a lot that a good brainstorm would pull out that we could be using with this. That would be innovative. Just, do you want to add, I sent our policy, I had our policy person write down our pretty much a really good plan for the pledge, where you would pretty much take a pledge, you'd acknowledge to protect people from COVID, it's this, this, and this, and then you would get access to pretty much the graphics to utilize graphics. She had about 3 or 4 different cities that are doing this and put them all together, and we pulled out the best stuff from all of them. And that policy I forwarded on to Jeff Buer over at the partnership, because they do a lot with campaigns. And I'm going to talk about some of their campaigns in a second. But the chamber has been really like a great partner with, well, I guess me personally, with the city as well, with trying to get some initiatives to help small businesses in general. And to be honest, like, I haven't worked with the chamber much during my elected life, and I think we found common ground when it comes to helping small businesses, and that's we're kind of running with it, right? Like, this is where we definitely have a lot of common ground on. So they might be, I agree that they might be the ones to promote this as well, or to try to get something going that would make this app, I think, more, it'll show this app to be even more necessary. So Andrew, we'll stay in touch and on this after this call too, and let me know because I'm here at the chamber for small business stuff, I could start weaving this stuff into it as well. So
it's an ongoing conversation. I mean, it's something that there's like 3 or 4 things that have to all settle down at the exact same time, and I'm trying to get that part to happen. But it sounds like they're interested, and they echoed some of the things that you just said about the future partnership between your office and the chamber, that they acknowledged just earlier, that like we're starting to have great conversations to where we think this is maybe makes some sense, but of course they got to run it up the ladder. So right. I hope to have better answers for you next week. And I was going to give you a summary electronically before this, but I don't know if you've noticed, the world's crazy, so we just kind of didn't do that.
The world is so crazy right now. So that's okay. Appreciate the update. And I mean, it kind of bleeds right into our next thing with the update on working with the partnership. Andrew, do you have anything more to add about the partnership?
Not really about the partnership, other than what they kind of declined, and I can maybe forward you what they said. I did want to just throw out there so it doesn't get tacked on at the end. And there is going to be a story published about the restaurant industry and what we're struggling to deal with. It's on Sunday. So if you want to talk about what was discussed last night with the paper, then I'm happy to share.
Okay, discussed last night with the paper.
A group of business owners were invited to meet up and socially distance sit outside of Norton's and discuss with Denise Neal at the Wichita Eagle, just kind of like what our experience has been thus far as a restaurant industry, and how we're constantly being called out for, optics for us being the problem when none of the data really actually suggests that it is. And this is not far from the conversations that we've had in this group about pointing blame. And so she'd been hearing this, so she wanted to tell that story. So there will be a story written and published in the paper on Sunday. We're not sure how it's going to look or, what it's about, but just wanted you to be aware that that conversation's happening, and there's likely to be a lot of chatter about that, hopefully in a positive way, but just be aware.
Okay, good. Yeah, I haven't been, approached for a story like that, so I'm unaware, but thanks for the heads up. Hopefully it's something we can share. Hopefully it's positive. We can share it and keep that conversation moving, because I'm finding it's interesting where, at least on my social media, my hits this week were over 60,000 people, which is usually about double what I normally get. I usually hover right around 30 to 40,000. And I brought in a lot of folks who have opinions on COVID. And one of the themes seems to be, and I guess this is human, right? Really pointing blame at why are these people doing that, those people doing this, why, a lot of, and you kind of see some values kind of play through that, right? What certain people value when it comes to societal needs versus other people. Why are we not canceling all sports? And then why aren't we closing all bars? Why are we having schools open? Just a lot of, the takeaway is there's a lot of stress and frustration with COVID. And I think naturally we look to point towards silver bullets, right? Which would be, well, if only we did this one thing, then we all would be okay. And so that article I think is probably pretty timely, because I bet their fingers on the pulse of public opinion as well over at the Eagle, and so good. Well, I will just mention with the partnership, they have, and this kind of rolls into the ad campaign stuff. They have a new campaign called Get Paid, or Get Trained, Get Paid. Pretty much what they are doing is, during COVID, with people out of work, there actually is a lot of resources to go back to school or to get some type of, finished credentialing or get a new credential. It's really, before we had this huge jump in the numbers, kind of what I've been trying to pivot my messaging towards is this time off could be an opportunity to get ready for what the next economy is going to be like. So they actually have have a campaign promoting really free tuition. Some of these programs, I think you even get a stipend for participating in. There's a lot of really good opportunities for higher education right now. Something that some folks might want to pass on to employees, to people who now have more time on their hands if they're not working as much hours. We all benefit from folks who have more work skills, and it's not just machinery stuff, right? It's not just building airplanes. Over at Workforce Alliance, if you want to go finish an accounting degree, they have methods to get you through that. So it's more it's more than just, I think, what a lot of us think of, where kind of like feeder programs to our advanced manufacturing industry. There's other stuff out there as well. So they're starting a whole campaign on it. And like I said, it's called Get Trained, Get Paid is kind of the hashtag, or I guess the slogan. And then there's another, I was on a call in the COVID task force, which I've only been to one meeting. I was only invited to one meeting so far, but I'm really glad I was, although I probably won't get invited back, to be honest. They are going to do a public relations campaign about the importance of wearing masks and about taking precautions for the prevention of spreading COVID. I probably won't be asked back because I somewhat questioned the strategy where other cities have tried to implement PR campaigns and didn't have the success with that. So, you know, a lot of times it's not just do this because it's good for you. It's also do this because it's lawful, right? Like it's coupling it with policy, I guess. But anyways, that's going to come down. So I'm telling folks that because it can't hurt, right? Like it might not be the silver bullet, but it's probably not going to hurt anything to keep reminding folks how best practices are to not spread COVID. So, but that we'll probably all start seeing that. I'm not sure who exactly what organization's going to be pushing it out. They probably said it, but I missed it. So, but they'll have a couple campaigns with that. The Get Trained, Get Paid, and also Workforce Alliance. There's just a lot of opportunity right now for people to kind of level up, I guess, when it comes to their skill set and their marketability. So if you have folks who are in your orbit who are feeling really down right now because they're not working as much, the goal, it's easier said than done. It's to like own the time. Don't let the time own you, right? Like, so use this time, like shift. And it's a mindset shift because people want to be working. And if that opportunity just isn't there at the moment for what they want to be doing, then it could be the shift is to study something that they want to study, right? Like go do something that they want to do that they might not have done in a while. So, so anyways, there's a lot of opportunities to do that pretty much for free at this point. And I think that we should talk about that. And there's going to be ad campaigns also talking about that. Anyone else have anything about ad campaigns? The Harkeys have one. I thought I saw something on Facebook about save the stages.
Oh God, yeah, we've had that ad campaign since like, I don't know, it feels like 10 years. I think it came about in May.
Right. This whole thing feels like 10 years. Like I found a gray hair. Like this is
I have
a year.
It's been a year. Yeah, no, Save Our Stages. We've been doing that since, I don't know. Yeah, before we started it, I remember our lobbyist was like, yeah, there'll probably be a bill passed in May for this. So here we are.
Not related, like not a particular campaign, but I was approached by a small public TV station operator here, very small, but they have like 11 stations on the over air channels. So it reaches a really interesting population of people that like, I don't have cable, so it hits my TV.
Me too.
And they have a really good value to getting the word out. They're struggling like all of us. And so they've offered some things to small businesses. We did a little partnership of promotions up and down kind of through Douglas and go to these 12 places and get a gift card or whatever. And they wanted to help us out with that with insanely low priced ads. It's big audience, or they're a big audience, which is not that big, but it's worth mentioning that they're trying to stay busy and help out. So it's kind of nice.
What's the name of the org so I can look them up if I wanted to plug that?
You would ask me and I wasn't prepared. I could have done that.
All right, well, just shoot me a email or message or something.
I'm getting it right now. I'll let everybody know.
Okay, throw it in the chat then.
The billboard companies are doing similar promotions all across the country. I didn't hear about this one happening specifically locally, but it was a national company out on the East Coast that's offering that Neva's gotten some really good deals with.
It's Mark McBride with, and I'm putting it in the KGPTV 26 is their main one, but like I said, they have like 11 total stations. Great guy, you know, doing this because his other career has kind of failed because of the pandemic. I think slowed him down, so he's helping out a friend who he's on and off or helped over the years. So very approachable. I don't know.
Okay, and that's probably some good information too, where you know, it might be a good time for advertising if people have expendable income at this time, if there's some deals out there. So,
Well, and their audience, I don't know their audience well enough to know who's watching, but like if there was some like an at-risk group of people that watch those stations, for example, that'd be a great time to like go talk about, you know, good policy or good practices and things. So almost in a PSA kind of way. I feel like they're kind of offering a service because they know it's going to be hard to make commitments to buy advertising. So I don't know.
no, it's smart. I looked into that too. I don't want to forget this. Because I already the chamber's having a campaign to shop local, which is something that we should probably be doing everything we can to support. Pretty much early on in the pandemic, a young woman named Kinsey was building a website for to just pretty much put up information about COVID and try to help some small businesses. And we reached out to her with this idea to have it's pretty much a Christmas and May type theme where go buy a gift certificate at a small business and, you know, try to keep them afloat during this time. The chamber has now picked up on the idea. Like I said before, it was a website done by volunteers, and it was almost successful. Like she was able to just any small business with the capabilities to take money online were able to create pretty much a gift certificate. And anyone who wanted to be on a website just shot her an email. She's like, I'm not going to call her a kid, but she's like in her early 20s. And I remember she got like bombarded because I would tweet out the website and she gets like bombarded with stuff and just had a great attitude about, yeah, I'm quarantined. I don't have anything to do. I'll get this all done by noon, like just updating the website. And so really, it was effective then. And now the chamber is picking up on that type of idea. And with their muscle, it's probably going to be pretty great. But the goal is to encourage people to buy local, to utilize, I think, particular businesses that are closed right now or not fully open, to utilize the technology to take payments online and in return have a gift certificate. And a gift certificate could be an email, right? Where a confirmation email, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. So we've been working with them on that. We had a meeting last week, maybe it was this week. I was quarantined, so like literally have no idea what day it is. When you quarantine, you just lose track of all that. But I think it might've been this week we had to talk about this. And so that's gonna launch. That's something we should all probably support and try to get that information out, particularly to businesses that might be in our own orbit, our own circle, who might not be members of the chamber. That was the other thing that we asked them to do is also focus on people who aren't members, right? Like not just in the same kind of circle of folks who are already plugged in. And so we're moving forward with that, and that's going to be hopefully a bit of a lifeline for as far as cash flow, as far as getting, you know, cash flow into places that might have their doors closed right now. So we'd want to encourage folks to use your social circle as well, because, you know, the chamber has a great list. I just don't know if they have enough. They have reached out to the Hispanic chamber and to the Black chamber, and, you know, so they are reaching out to get to people, business owners who might not be a member of their chamber as well. So there is an effort to do that. But again, it doesn't hurt for us to kind of do what we can to get the word out as well. So yeah, so those are really 3 campaigns that I know of that are happening. One to help small businesses, one to help maybe employees who were laid off at this time, and the other one to help us try to advertise healthy practices to keep COVID. So although the campaign season has ended, it's bringing on a whole new campaign season. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Any more discussion about any of the items before we kind of get into nominations for the next council? So pretty much if you keep showing up, you're on a council. If you haven't told me that you are going to not be on, I think I had like one email, maybe I'll check with Janet again, but I think I had one email with a person who officially pretty much resigned. She was focusing on something else, but she also hasn't been on for a few meetings. So it wasn't a shock or surprise. People, this is all volunteers, people come on and off, and that's great. But we do want to expand out a little more if there's people, particularly you all, right? Like the business community, Wayne Bell's been here since the beginning, and I kind of want to keep him on. So, this is flexible. I make reappointments roughly every 3 months. No one's ever going to call me out on, having members who've been here for a while or new members or whatever. The whole point of making an appointment to this is that it makes it official, which means it becomes an open meeting, which for the sake of transparency is what I want to keep it. So anyways, I'm looking for nominations from you all. If there's anybody who should be on this, who I won't know of, that I can reach out. I think, Andrew, you sent me a name, but if there's any others, and right now we're doing the same kind of theme we've been doing, where we got to get through COVID the next few months. Still, we're still getting through COVID. So I'm very interested in people who are going to be really affected by COVID, right? So service sector, fitness sector. I think that if there's anything else, we had cosmetology, the first council. We had a lot of folks up from the cosmetology sector because they were, I think, really getting targeted, and then it really kind of showed that they can do their business without having outbreaks. Like, they really stepped up to the plate. So if there's any industries moving forward that you all think aren't being represented on this but should be, forward me their information as well. And by me, send it to me, and Janet's probably going to get back to you because she's better than this than I am. So, but yeah, and then I can reach out to those folks, and if they're okay with serving pretty much a minimum of 3 months, then I'll have them officially appointed, and we'll keep this going. So, I mean, if not, then like I said, we already have a good group too. So I don't want to pressure anyone to think that they have to, go to their friends list and start pulling people off. So, all right. So other discussion, anything else? Oh, I should probably give you guys an update on what happened yesterday. Yeah, Andrew's like, yes. That's
why we did it.
The what?
That's why we chose today, because we were
right.
What happened yesterday.
Right, and here I am, everything's so crazy, I forgot about yesterday. Okay, so I want to make this crystal clear. Yesterday, we did not enact any type of policy when it comes to responding to COVID. Pretty much what yesterday was is shifting the responsibility of not only the policy, but also enforcement of the policy to the county, who serves as the Board of Health, who also has a health department that they can, work with. We don't have a health department here. And really the county commission has been doing a pretty good job following the advice of their health officer, right? In the beginning, when we wound up passing the mask ordinance here in the city, it was because the county health officer requested it and the elected officials rejected it. So we at the city level have only acted when it was when the county health office asked local government to act. So we kind of got a reputation then, I think, of we're the ones who enact COVID policy. But again, we want to shift that back to the county because they're better at it. They have the ability to not only the staff that have that inside knowledge of what's happening, but also their health officer has the ability to be agile with it, to make changes pretty fast on it. While we only meet once a week. So so what we did yesterday was two things. We had a resolution allowing their health, I guess, policy or orders is what they are, to be enforced in the city of Wichita, which apparently usually we don't have an ongoing pandemic, right? Like, so I guess the law says, and I thought it was a newer law, says that we need to allow them pretty much to enforce their order in the city or their order is meaningless to an extent. It's a suggestion. They have tightened up their orders to actually be enforceable, like our mask order was. Our mask order was technically enforceable, even though I think we only wrote like 4 tickets. But by it being enforceable, it shows that, you know, we're serious with it, that this is a big deal, and that in doing so, we wind up, I think we have better compliance. Like our numbers were in single digits, now we're at like 25% spread. So the hospital CEO and their top doctor came over from Wesley to describe the situation we're currently in, which the hospitals are just overrun. Like literally, they said they have a plan to make maybe like 30 more beds is what they can do. They got about over 100 people right now with COVID. Half of them are in ICU. ICU is not just COVID. Like it's a tough time for ICU anyways, like, 'cause people get sick this time of year. So ICU fills up with a whole bunch of different stuff. But right now, because of the addition of COVID patients in ICU and in the hospital, they're pretty close to max. They got a few levers they can pull, but it's not, none of it's good, right? Like, I mean, you're talking about putting beds in hallways, kind of like they opened up a new wing that they didn't use for, I guess, recovery for a long time. So their report was dire. And if you watch the video that's on our meeting, their report on it. So again, in response to that, what we did is a resolution to allow the county health orders to be pretty much enforceable here in Wichita, and also an agreement on how we will come alongside the county in helping enforce. So what that's about is our officers, the most practical sense is like, if our officers are out and they walk by Sarah's coffee house and has a COVID party happening with like 100 people inside the front, the building's supposed to only have like 50 people in it, and just like willfully out of compliance with the order, our officers can report that to the county. So I believe our function is more to educate. We also, it would be nice if we can educate and encourage, which means like tell people, hey, this order's in place and this is what you have to do to be lawful. I mean, that's what we want. Most people want to be lawful. They just have real lives and not following everything that's coming out of the county. So our goal is to help with that. But as far as the enforcement piece, I believe we are punting that to the county by giving them a report. And then I didn't use the word mosh pits. I don't want to demonize mosh pits, but yes, we're going to punt them the report, and it's up to them to figure out if they want to issue a ticket or not. Their tickets are up to $500. So everyone just like clenched their pearls when we had a $25 ticket, and they have like $500 tickets. So just want to point that out. We were completely reasonable. But again, hopefully they won't have to issue many of these. I think that in our experience, you like literally had to try to knowingly break the law to even get a $25 ticket. Like when we did it, it was the people who told the cops we don't care. That was that was what they did. So anyways, that's what happened yesterday, but it wasn't any new orders. And there's a lot of confusion about what's going to happen next, and everyone's jumping to the worst case scenario, which is a shutdown. I don't personally think that's happening. A full-on shutdown or stay-in is going to happen anytime soon, because I think they're going to see if the orders now start knocking down the numbers, right? Like it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to start seeing numbers go down from certain orders. But that's just my opinion. I'm not the medical doctor. But again, we're in this weird spot because we don't have, like 3 weeks ago, I tried to get a game plan going, right? Like, hey, what would be the plan? So that people, I think, had some idea of what could happen if the numbers kept going up. And now a lot of the feedback I'm getting is people feel like taken off guard when a lot of people are kind of off guard when it comes to these orders coming down, right? Like they didn't expect it. So we could do a much better job trying to predict, hey, these numbers keep going up. This is usually their policy response. And a lot of it, at least my feedback that I'm getting, is coming from businesses that, in the service sector, are like, hey, we order produce. Like, can you give us a heads up if you're going to shut us down, because we order produce and we won't order as much produce, right? Like if these numbers keep going up. And that's the only good thing about this virus is predictable. It's very, very predictable. Particularly in our modeling, like it's sadly predictable, like, because we're going to go back up, I think. But we want to bring some type of stability or predictability to the business community, which is something I think we're still trying to do. And anyways, so we're in a bad spot, but the city, I think, want to get out of the business of enacting policy, push that back over to the county. But of course, that policy should impact Wichita. And we do have the ability to kick policy out. So if the county does something that we disagree with, we do have the ability to rescind the agreement, to vote against what we already voted for. So it's not a blank check. This is your responsibility. And if we disagree with what you're doing and we can't come to a negotiated compromise, then we'll kick you out, pretty much. So, all right, someone just wrote it that they want, Jacob had it run, that they want to, I think, talk about WCU molecular lab testing site. Let's briefly talk about this. And you put the link in. Awesome. So WSU's lab is up and running. They're doing some background right now, I believe. Last I checked, so everything I say could be moving forward, because we're moving at the speed of light at this point, I guess. They have to do more kind of on the back end when it comes to, I think, their database. But as far as being able to take samples and test samples for COVID very fast, they're there. A couple things that you guys need to know about this, and really this small business community, they are getting into partnerships or contracts or whatever they're called with businesses, with industry right now. I think that's the first layer that they're going for before they open up to pretty much anyone. So what that means is, here in the city of Wichita, we have like 2,000 employees. We can have people spit in the container and then collect all those here and then send them to the lab and get all those results. And because we signed up with them, we're a partner with them. Some of the other big industries are doing that as well, the big employers. The good thing is, so you guys can sign up pretty much, and it's fast turnaround. With us, it's like within 12 hours or 24 hours. A couple things that you should know about this. This isn't the nose swab. Okay, I don't know if anybody's ever got the nose swab. I had 4 of them early on, and they're rough. This is just as disgusting, but it's not as bad. It's like a little vial that you actually they give you instructions on how to spit into it, and you spit into it, and then you pretty much lock it up, and then you put it in a bag, and you send it off. So by that, you can have this done at your business or without having to have someone with any medical training there to administer the sample. to grab the sample. When you do the nose swab, that person has to have some level of medical training, so they're not just like sticking this thing through your brain. So there's like an hour-long Zoom training on like how to watch people spit appropriately or properly that anyone can take. I was text messaging Jim Howe the other day, oddly enough, and you know, he was telling me about how he went and got certified for it, and he gave him like 25 little spit containers, and he was asking if I knew anyone in my family who needed testing. So that goes to show you that, like, you know, he's a county commissioner. He's not even in the field really at all. He just did it just to do it and be helpful, I guess. So any of us can go through that training and get that done. And then if you have a partnership or you sign up with the WCU lab, you know, you could have like weekly tests. The last thing about that is they are still trying to figure out the pricing. It seems fairly cheap, I think. I don't think they seem very, even if they're trying to work it out with CARES Act money to see if they can get it for free. But if not, like, it's not really that expensive. Like they have the process where if they break even or whatever, it's really not going to be outrageous at all. So, but again, last meeting I was in on that. They are still, I think, determining what that looks like. And I think that there's still the idea that they can do this for free or at a extreme discount. So that's something I think should be on people's radar. And it looks like Andrew threw a link in the chat about that.
I wanted to tell you our experience because we heard about it from another company that was given access to it a little early, a small business similar to ours. And they sent me this doc link I sent you, which is really hard to find, just so you know. It's not publicly available. So it gives you access to all the different consent forms and things you need to do. There's a process to get into be able to order those test kits. If you use, it's Spark money they're hoping for. It's if you use the test kit ordering, once you get your code, you can order. It's like a $1,900 fee, and then Spark makes it free. So you get 50 test kits, and everything Brandon said just, you know, is exactly the way it is. Now, they say 24-hour turnaround. The group that I talked to actually happened to be there last night at the meeting, said that they turned in a round of these things at 3 p.m. on, like, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, and they got answers back at 7 p.m. It took 4 hours. So I think it's because the pipeline's not as full. They can do 1,500 per person per day. So 35,000 test kits a day is their capacity. So they're able to turn them over really fast. But we've been waiting for about 24 hours now and have not yet got access to purchase these kits. And that video is not a video that you could just go watch the class. You have to be given it. So we're still waiting to go take the hour-long class. So we're like wanting to do it now because we're trying to get our entire staff tested before the holiday just to give them peace of mind. So that's kind of been our experience. So I would suggest you go to that website and you click on all those links, read everything. We've read the legal document. I've had several people say there's nothing in there that's scary. Sign it and send it in and get it to that email, and then hopefully you get in the queue, because I bet they've been inundated since the story came out on Monday.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they're doing like a soft opening, right? Like they're trying to get it out, but it's not prime time yet. They're still working out kinks. But
I think they've been doing the soft opening for the big players like the city and big employers, and now they've got it called the limp opening. Now they're moving on to the next one.
See, I'm not in the sector. I don't know the lingo, but yeah.
Anyways.
So the other thing too, these tests aren't just, they're better than, like, there's some saliva tests where you kind of like put it on your tongue and you see the color or whatever, and those have like a 30% fail rate. Like, these are better than that. They're more accurate than most saliva tests. Like, it's a really good lab. However, just somewhat of a warning, it only tells you if you have COVID at that moment, and if your body, I think, is responding to COVID at that moment. Andrew's right. That's where we all got tested when, you know, this place, everyone got COVID. One of our members here is now home with COVID, got tested on that day, and I think was negative, and then like was quarantined and then started showing symptoms, got tested again, and now is positive. So it's not the it's not the silver bullet. It's a tool. You know, the best way to stop COVID is to pretend you have it, right? Like, wear a mask, stay away from people. But it's something, and yeah, we are going to be, I think, in trouble when 2 weeks from Thanksgiving. We're now dealing with a Halloween bump. The hospitals are. So anything that could possibly help, I think, make people a little safer. If you do Andrew's route where people are getting tested before the holiday. Also, just keep in mind there are a lot of businesses I've talked to that are asking folks who actually do attend a gathering or a big gathering for Thanksgiving to work from home for the first 10 days. So that's also something that's kind of being played out there is taking that extra precaution and giving people that option to not have to come right back to work because it will spread even more. But it is amazing that, like, when you quarantine because you were exposed to it, you think you're fine, and then you have people who, and this happened to literally a council member who, the very final days of quarantine, they started having symptoms. Like that's that kind of shows you how terrible this virus is, right? Like people, I think, feel good. They're at home, but they feel good, so they're doing errands or something, and that's how this thing's getting out. So, anyways, real good information there. Let's make sure that we, I guess, send that out to anyone who needs it. Okay, so Wayne Bell has to get off at 10. All right, I think we're pretty much done on time. Like, we had 2 minutes, which never happens. So good discussion today. Cool. All right. So if you haven't reviewed the chat, go ahead and make sure you do. Jacob has some pretty cool stuff they put in there that they're responding to the virus with. Okay, but if there's no further discussion, then we'll end on time and let people get on with their other stuff. So with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
We'll go with Bill on that one because he had his thumb up too. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. You guys have it. We're adjourned. Thanks, guys. Our next meeting is December 11th, and we will have a good holiday and safe one
Thank
too.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.